Om Gham Ganapataye Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnur, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptayena Characharam Tatpadam Darshidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Vigneshwaraya Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Saraswati Namaha. Namaste to one and all. Today's story of Palazhi Madhanam, the stage is set at Indraloka, and that is also by the sage Durvasa. One day, a few Vidyadhara women approached sage Durvasa and respectfully offered him a magnificent divine garland woven by the flowers of Kalpavriksha. Accepting is it a blessing? It as a blessing. Durvasa presented that to Indra, the king of gods, as a token of grace. But unfortunately, Indra did not treat that gift with due reverence. Instead of carefully handling, he kept it on the head of the divine elephant. Attracted by the intoxicating smell, a swarm of bees troubled the elephant. Not able to bear the nuisance, the elephant threw the garland on the floor and trampled it. Seeing this, Durvasa cursed Indra to have all his prosperity go back to the Milky Ocean or the ocean of milk, and that they would be stuck with old age and poverty. The impact was sudden. Desperate to find out a solution, Indra with demigods approached Brahma. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Brahma prayed to the Supreme. The Supreme manifested himself and started giving a solution. He explained that the situation now is not favorable and it is favoring the Asuras. They should make a pact with the enemies and try to extract the nectar, the Amrita, the sacred nectar of immortality, for which they have to strike an alliance with their own enemies. To accomplish this, he instructed them to cast all sacred creepers, potent herbs, and celestial plants into the vast ocean of milk. Use the mighty Mount Mandara as a tuning rod. Use the great serpent as a rope. He also warned that during the process, there could be a lethal poison coming out of the ocean, and also many attractive things for which they should not be attracted with. Having delivered the profound strategy, Lord disappeared. With a clear path forward, Indra, along with few of his colleagues, rushed to the palace of Mahabali, the king of Asuras. With measured words, Indra presented the strategy. The Asuras, ambitious and eager to have the immortality, accepted the proposal. With the combined force of Asura and Devas, they tried to bring Mount Mandara to the ocean of milk, to the Milky Ocean, but unfortunately they couldn't. Seeing the desperate situation, Lord Vishnu carried the Mount Mandara on the Garuda and placed it on the edge of the Milky Ocean. They also went to Vasuki and requested him to be the rope. As all preparations began, Lord Vishnu along with Devas, stepped forward to hold Vasuki by head. This arrangement was not acceptable to the Asuras. Seeing their arrogance, Lord Vishnu smiled gently. With a divine tact, he released the serpent's head and went to the tail. The Devas followed him. Satisfied that their pride has been preserved, the churning started. Because of the churning, the Vasuki's mouth erupted, gave lot of fumes, venomous vapors, which were lethal to the Asuras. While with the will of Lord Vishnu, cooling clouds showered Devas, and they could continue with their own full vigor. Yet another crisis erupted. The Milky Ocean had no foundation. It started sinking. Seeing this, Vishnu took the avatara of Kurma and supported the Mount Mandara. As rightly explained, this was because Lord Ganesha um, was not worshipped before start of the project. The mountain's massive base started rotating. Witnessing that the support of Kurma Avtara has brought the mountain up with a lot of vigors. The Asuras and Devas started tuning. The first churning yielded the first product, but it was not the nectar, but it was the halahala poison. The deadly poison instantly spread through all directions, threatening the annihilation of the creation itself. Devas prayed to Lord Shiva. Moved by compassion, he gathered the vast ocean of poison into his palms and drank it and held it at his neck, giving a deep blue color and giving him a name of Nilaganda. The churning continued, and lot of wonderful products came out. Kamadenu, Uchasavas, Airavada, Kaustuba, Parijada, and Apsaras. At last, a divine light spread in all directions, and from the ocean of milk emerged Lord Goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmi carefully observed all those gathered before her. She sought someone who possessed every noble quality: wisdom, righteousness, compassion, strength, self control, and purity. After considering all, her gaze rested upon Lord Vishnu, who embodied every virtue she desired. Lakshmi approached Vishnu and placed the garland around his neck, choosing him as his eternal consort. Soon after, another figure emerged from the ocean of milk, Dhanvantari. He was having the nectar pot in his hand. Seeing this, the Asuras snatched the precious vessel and fled. Meanwhile, seeing the chaotic situation, Lord Vishnu took the avatara of an enchanting lady, the Mohini, ultimate beauty of the universe. Seeing her, the Asuras were totally enchanted. The Asuras completely forgotten their mutual affection and started arguing and fighting against each other. Blinded and utterly enchanted by the mesmerizing beauty of Mohini, they begged her to distribute the nectar and stop the quarrel among themselves. Mohini gave lot of conditions. Each one of those were accepted by them. After ensuring, however, after ensuring Devas and Asuras are seated strictly in their respective rows, Mohini started distributing the nectar. She kept the Asuras utterly spellbound and captivated with her enchanting smiles and playful sidelong glances, all while systematically serving the divine Amrit exclusively to the Devas. Because they had bound themselves by a strict promise to tolerate whatever she did, the Asuras remained completely silent, even as they watched Mohini serve the nectar to the Devas while completely bypassing them. They did not utter a single word of protest. They feared that speaking up might displease her. The Asuras held back their anger and ensured that the action of Mohini, driven by the embarrassing thought of fighting a woman, seizing the moment of hesitation, the Asura named Sorbanu disguised himself as a Deva, slipped into their seating row to drink the nectar of divine nectar. However, the deception was not so long. Surya and Chandra noticed this and warned Lord Vishnu, who instantly struck with his Sudarsana Chakra, severing Sorbanu's head from the body. Because the Asura has already swallowed a drop of Amrit, the severed head became immortal. The Lord then placed his head among the Navagrahas and named him Rahu. Once the Devas finished drinking the Amrit, Mohini shed her beautiful illusion and came back as Lord Vishnu and ascended to the heavens on the back of Garuda. There ensued a war between Asura and Devas, in which Asuras were totally overpowered by the strength of Devas, and the Devas became supreme powerful again. Thus, the story of Palazhi Madhanam is completed. Thank you all. Namaste.
Namaste, Anandji. So that in a nutshell is the story. Or actually, the story has been going. I mean, all the stories that Anandji mentions here, talks about here. We are trying to follow the Moolam, Bhagavatam, the root, the Moolam, without going after various interpretations. Instead of that, we are going through all the chapters of the Moolam and then going through that script. So we are sticking to the Moolam script. And today we are going to talk about the. We have already heard the story of Palazhi Madhanam or Kurma or the churning of the Milky Ocean. The pictures that I have shown here is on the left side of the screen. We have a picture that is generated by a Vivian intelligence after going through the Vijnan Vikas classes. And on the right side is an agentic AI which has been shaped through self-analytics and prompt engineering. So we have two pictures shown there. I'm going to, throughout the talk, I will be throwing up imagery that agentic AI, self-analytics and prompt engineering has generated to illustrate the concepts. So that's just maybe the first time I'm attempting to integrate those visualization techniques also in here. So, okay, that's just a preamble. So we will get into the story of the churning of the Milky Ocean. First and foremost, let us look at the states of the mind that all of us go through. Every one of us, as long as we are living in this transactory world, all of us go through these two states, dichotomy of the mind, the two states of the mind. And the story is a story of inner transformation. In fact, all the stories in the Bhagavatam are inner transformation, stories of inner transformation. This is also another great example of a story for inner transformation. Bhagavatam talks about the transformation of divinity within. Divinity within Bhagavatam to expressions in the outside world of living. So, the stories of the Bhagavatam are nothing but tools of transformation of divinity from within into actions in the outside world. If we are not able to translate that concepts of divinity and how that divine characteristics translate into thoughts and then actions, then the whole purpose of Bhagavatam is lost. I think the analogical representation of the Bhagavata stories as inner transformations is an avenue through which we can actually tap this potential from within. That is definitely the purpose of all these sessions that we have been going through. So, okay, so back to the churning of the Milky Ocean. So, the Milky Ocean is nothing but our mind, which is by origin sattvic, but then it gets contaminated. So that ocean is the ocean of memories, the ocean of experiences, the ocean of cognitive transformations of thought. All this put together is a great ocean of depth, of width, of, it's not just deep, but it is also wide. And this is the mind. And that mind has actually two aspects to it: the rational aspect and the emotional aspect. Apart from that, you can also attribute a kind of rational direction which is rooted in selflessness, which is dharma, that which helps us to direct our actions in the right manner. So, when I say rational direction, it also means the dharma aspect of it. It is not just gross rationality, it is about the directing of thought towards what is right. And the negative thinking or the emotional aspects, now even though emotions are positive also, but here that emotional aspect of the mind is equated to the negative thinking, which is controlled by emotions, the various kinds of negative emotions. So there is this positive aspect, and therefore there is also this negative aspect of the mind. And the characteristics of the positive aspect is what is projected as selflessness, rationality that invites the good, abundance of, of positivity, prasada bhava. That is what Bhagavad-Gita talks about in the Karma Yoga, the prasada bhava. And about the result of it. What is it? Lasting glory. That is what Sanjaya concluded in the end of the Bhagavad-Gita. What is the result of selflessness combined with rationality and abundance? It is nothing but lasting glory. And that is our positive side of the mind. The negative side, which actually takes control through our emotions, is selfishness. Emotions like anger, greed, jealousy, and all such volatile feelings. And lack mindset, just the opposite of abundance. And outwardly resulting in a tendency for instant gratifications. So this is the dichotomy of the mind that we are talking about. And this is exactly what is represented in the story element. I'm going to actually go through the significances, not in a story order, but more with the elements of it, and then trying to get that so it will be easy for you to connect it then. So we have the current of our thought processes. Thinking, you can consider it as a kind of current that flows through a circuitry, in electricity that flows through a circuitry, like that, a current of our thought. Thought stream, we call it as a thought stream. This thought stream helps us to rake up the memories and stored knowledge, experiences, etc., as well as connect with new knowledge. The thoughts are set in motion by one thing. What is that? It is the desires. Desires actually animate our thoughts. These desires are driven at one end by selflessness and the other end by selfishness. In fact, the moment you have desires, it can be actually in a spectrum of selfishness to selflessness. We can actually test all our thought processes as to whether it is belonging to selfishness or to the selfless end of our thought spectrum. That is one of the things that we have to develop. In fact, the stories of the Bhagavatam or going through a Bhagavata Saptaha, etc., is meant for us to understand, to gauge our own thought processes, our own mind, and to decide how it is poised, whether it is towards selflessness or towards selfishness. It's a grade. It is definitely not black and white. There are a lot of gray areas, and we need to understand where we lie. And making us understand this process of fixing where our mind lies is basically what the stories of the Bhagavatam is allowing us to do. The selflessness and selfishness, they come hand in hand, but pull our thoughts in opposite directions. This is the picturization of the Devas and the Asuras on opposite sides pulling Vasuki. So, such that the mountain Mandara rotates. That is the picturization. So, the Devas and the Asuras represent the dichotomies of our mind. The Devas controlling the tail of serpent Vasuki and the Asuras taking up the head of Vasuki. The head is symbolized as the seat of poison, which will de-energize the side that is standing there. It's like the negativity, negative thinking, taking a toll on our energy. Whereas the tail gives agility. Tail is the representation of agility in a snake, agility of movement, agility of stability. That's the function of the tail of a snake. It symbolizes how we direct our motion. So it actually is the kind of direction that is given to the thought processes in the right direction. That is the Deva end of this picturization. Thoughts are churned by the mountain, Mandara. Mandara, that the word, the name has come from two words combined together, Mana and Dhara. Mind, Dhara, the current or the flow. So Mandara means thought flow. So thought flow needs to be rotated, or thought flow has to be used to churn our memories. Mandara, mountain, is used to churn the Milky Ocean. The representation is that it is our thought thinking that helps us to churn our mind, memories. And while churning, what is happening is there is one side which is Devas and the other side which is the Asuras. That is the picturization, the scene. Now, these thoughts actually can drift away. Mandara can drift away. You can actually, get lost in your thoughts and, different kinds of disturbances and agitations coming up, and then absolutely lost thought. So these thoughts must have a firm basis that it does not swing to the bottom. This firmness is not about being stubborn and fixated on ideas, but it is about determination and focus that we bring forth. Determination and focus that we need to bring forth into our thought processes such that it is directed properly. For that, the mind should be able to withstand the various distractions that come our way. It must be able to apply dispassion, pull the senses inside, meaning pull the senses away from distractions so that the mind is focused. The dispassion which forms the basis of mind's passion for goal orientation and success, that is what is symbolized by the kurma, the tortoise. That is able to, symbolically, the tortoise is able to pull the head and the limbs into the shell such that it is protected from all the outside influences. This is the significance of the Vishnu's Kurma avatar that came in and to help the churning process by supporting the mandara. All our thought processes should be supported by the Kurma avatar from within. And then the churning started. And, there are many things that will come out from your mind, including, bad things as well as good things, when you start reflecting on action plans. Depending on the mind's orientation, the good, the pleasant, and the bad will emerge. Typically, negative-minded are attracted towards the negative things. The positive-minded root for the goodness or good. Sustained happiness is what everybody is aiming for. Happiness is what everyone aims. But some people go after negatives and some people go after the positives. The negative-minded and the selfish people go after instant gratification. They are enamored by glitz and glamour and are restricted by pride and delusions. This is what is, signified by the Mohini avatar, attractions and glamour and glitz, and of instant gratifications which attract the negative-minded, the asuras, and they go after that. They fall prey to instant glories, and they lose track of what is happening, and they therefore stand to lose the amrita, sustainable successes. So, it is a journey of our purification of consciousness, removal of delusions, and attaining true happiness. The Devas obtained that sustainable happiness through, that is what is depicted by ultimately Mohini carrying the Amrita to the Asuras. So, we need to elevate our thought processes by supporting it in a firm basis. We must never let the thoughts sink to the bottomless pit of adharma. For that to happen, we need total mastery and control of the mind. That is what the Kurma avatar signifies. A mind that is able to withdraw itself from the pursuit of pleasures and the vagaries of likes and dislikes, as well as have the stubbornness and resistivity to withstand an onslaught of actual distractions. They will be able to uphold to the pristine values of eternal dharma, of Sanatana dharma. Such a mind will never let the streams of our thought to sink into the bottomless pit of adharma. Hence, the story is a metaphor of cultivating a resilient mind rooted in the dharma of living. We should have professional detachment of more of this kind of applications. I'm sure Anandji will be also talking about, but it is about the professional detachment of maintaining objectivity and perspectives, cultivating that, building equanimity of mind, balance, pulling out your arms and head and everything from the pleasures, kurma. Resisting the distractions, so developing a mental resistance for that, and upholding eternal goodness, ultimately reaching to sustainable happiness. So it's about, while the Devas and the Asuras were doing this churning process using the Mandiram, they actually got, especially the Asura side, they were really exhausted by the poisonous fumes and other things that emanated from the mouth of Vasuki. And even the Devas were actually exhausted. And what happened was, Vishnu himself entered the ocean as the Kurma. That is, the ocean was actually blessed by the strength of what? Stability and sturdy support. Kurma Avatar. Just imagine that. Imagine these things happening inside our mind. The Kurma Avatar, as Kurma Avatar, the self, entered that mind and made it sturdy, determined, and stable. That means when the mind becomes stable, sturdy, and withdraws from likes and dislikes, that means the Kurma Avatar has taken shape within our minds, supporting our thought processes. So Vishnu entered the ocean as Kurma. Then, in the heart of Devas, the same self entered the heart of Devas as positive thoughts, creative thinking, and productivity, and in terms of a kind of abundant mindset. So the abundant mindset that we bring about in times of crisis is when the self enters the mind as Devas. That is one side of it. On the other side of it, in the heart of the Asuras, self entered, Vishnu entered as negative thinking of evil and bad ideas, and in general a lack mindset. So the moment we actually backtrack in situations, that means the self is entering our mind as the Asuras. So both the Devas and the Asuras are activated by the self, energized by the self. And in the mountain, our thought processes, the mantara, the streams of thinking that we have, Vishnu entered that thought process also. As sturdiness and firmness in the flow of thinking, fluidity of thinking, sturdiness of thinking, etc. That is in the mountain. And in Vasugi, also the Vishnu entered. That is in our desires. In our desires also, Vishnu should enter. And what happens, it is said in the Bhagavatam that Vishnu entered as Abodha into Vasuki. Abodha meaning, lack of consciousness or whatever, but actually it means it is actionlessness. Adharma. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, it talks about that state. So Vishnu entered Vasuki as akarma, meaning in kind of indifference, a balanced state of affairs where it just merely, the desire merely forms the, what you call, unseen link kind of thing. Without desires, goodness and badness both, without desires cannot be achieved. So if you want to do good, we have to have desires, goodness, good desires. So you have to have that balance. And that balance, in this case, is a kind of state of indifference. And that Vishnu entered into Vasuki as that indifference. And in addition to that, Vishnu also did another thing. Because he had to actually make sure that the whole thing is enacted out properly or enlivened properly. So on the Deva side, he produced rain. As rain. He entered the Deva side as rain and therefore was able to replenish the Deva side. And on the Asura side, he entered as what is called as rain shadow. In the sense that kind of, something that goes against productivity and other kinds of positive things. So it is about, this lack mindset. So one side he entered as abundance and the other side he entered as lack mindset, which is rain as well as drought on the other side. Dryness. So this is how the self permeated the whole picture, the whole story of the picturization of the Mandara Parvadam churning the Milky Ocean, the Palazhi Madhanam. Here you can see in every element the self is reflecting. Vishnu is reflecting. This is the picturization. This is what we need to understand. When we understand this, we will be able to tap the right energy of the self. And that right energy of the self is basically what is required for success. Because, as Anandji himself actually in the story, he was said, as the mountain's massive base rotated against the shell of the tortoise, what would have crushed worlds merely felt like a pleasant scratch to the Supreme Lord. The mountain sitting on mere scratch only. Now, when we are withdrawn from all the selfish pleasures that we seek and lead a balanced life, then all the troubles that we take up will merely feel like scratches on our back. To ensure success of this cosmic undertaking, Vishnu manifested his power in multiple ways simultaneously. That's what I described now. He supported the mountain from below as Kurma, stabilized it from above, infused the Devas and the Asuras with strength and vitality, but opposing values, and empowered Vasuki to endure the tremendous strain. Okay, so I just quoted from what Anandji has also talked about in the story. That is what this picturization is all about. Our thoughts can still be influenced by contradictory pulls of selfishness and selflessness, of emotions and rationality, of a lack mindset and an abundant mindset. When we take control of the direction of our thinking, applying positive thoughts, we direct our destiny towards selflessness, rationality, and abundance. But when we succumb to the control of the negative thinking, we fall into the danger zone of selfishness, emotions, and lack mindset. Rational direction helps in acquiring a tremendous wealth, whereas emotional control only deprives us of these wealths. Lack mindset comes with anger and greed, pride and delusions, whereas selfish minds and the selfish minds gets fascinated by instant gratifications. They go after the Mohini, only to be fooled by fleeting pleasures. Rational direction rooted in selflessness brings in lasting glories and sustainable success. So that's basically the end result of all this picturization is basically this particular picture that we have on the screen. Now, if we actually look at from the Jnana Vijnana Yoga perspective of the development of what is called as Shraddha, Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam. We have, in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, we have talked about Shraddha, Talparata, and Samyadendriyata. These are the qualities of Shraddha, a state of focused attention and dedication. How can you get that to that state of Shraddhavan Shraddha? The path to the Shraddha is actually 3 steps. 1, professional mindfulness, dedication of your thoughts, and strategic analytics. 3 things are required for the Shraddha. And for this, in fact, these are the 3 things that will help you to control your desires and thought streams, to flow in the right direction of rationally strategic decision, taking rationally strategic decisions with the right, goal-oriented desires. So on one side is that goal orientation, which is the devas, and on the other side is that selfish desires or emotionally minded thinking processes, the asuras. These 2 are pulling us apart. And through this process of mindfulness, dedication, and analytics. Mindfulness, dedication, and analytics. 3 things. Mindfulness stems from practice of selfless actions, karma yoga. Dedication comes from a purification of the mind and getting inspired, that is devotion or bhakti yoga. And analytics, strategic analytics, is about differentiating what is right and what is pleasant, and sifting the unwanted rajas and tamas, and then combining the sattvic rajas with sattva, pure sattva. That is strategic analytics. So it is about Jnana Yoga. So Karma, Bhakti, and Jnana Yoga combines to produce what is called as a state of focus or Shraddha in the minds of people. So this is basically what is depicted by the purification of the mind or Shraddha, and the creation of Shraddha is basically what the story of the Mandara churning or the Palari, the Milky Ocean, churning of the Milky Ocean depicts for us. So now let us also take a look at the preamble of it, which Anandji also mentioned about Durvasa Muni offering the divine garland to Devendra, and Devendra placing it on the heads of Airavata, the elephant, white elephant, and Airavata, because of the flowers and the honey in that flowers, lots of bees and other things started coming, and the Airavata elephant became irritated, and he took out that the garland and threw it into the ground and trampled upon it. And Durvasa cursed Indra because Indra showed disrespect to the gift that he had given. So you shall lose all your divine glory and power. So that is how initially the whole thing happened. And the Devas lost all their luster, opulence, and prosperity, sunk in the deep ocean of milk. In fact, our negative thinking or arrogance, often what happens is it pushes down our positive thinking into our deeper layers of our psyche, in the memories. And even though we have learned good things, still doesn't come to our help. It has all gone down deep into our minds. This is basically what happened. Knowledge and capabilities fail in time of need. When you are arrogant and filled with vanity, memory and thinking fails you. That is what is the story. And we need to now get it out, get the mind out from such a state of affairs and energize it. That is the process of churning that happened. That is, therefore, this is the prelude to the story, and the prelude to the story is talking about our mind, because of arrogance and selfishness, arrogance, vanity, etc. It loses the power of knowledge and memories. By sinking all our goodness, knowledge, and all the things that we have learned into the deeper realms of our memory. So we need a rebuilding roadmap. That is what this Mandara churning is all about. So the initiation is about, Sage Durvasa, fleeting, represents the fleeting opportunities and luck, difficult to sustain, something that is difficult to sustain. That which is difficult to stay. That is the word meaning of Durvasa. Durvasa is the quality within us, which is difficult to stay. And the garland shows the easily attained successes, the instant gratifications that we get. That is the garland. Airavada trampling is about our ignorance and arrogance, our untrained mind, destroying our own foundations. And then we need to get out of that. Retraining on our fundamentals, focusing our engagement and reflections, and applying wisdom and knowledge are the 3 steps that we talked about, the karma, bhakti, and jnana yogas. And that karma, bhakti, jnana yogas, transforming our mind into a focused state of Shraddha to attain the glories of sustainable success is basically what the story of the Mandara churning was all about. Practice, persistence, and purpose. The importance of practice, persistence, and purpose is basically what was highlighted by the story. It is about identifying our negative qualities. Identifying our negative qualities requires differentiation of what is right and what is pleasant. And once you identify the poison within us, we need to apply self-effort to actually throw out that negative stuff. And to throw out that negative stuff, to prevent the negative stuff from contaminating all our thoughts and actions, we need to leverage our discriminative intelligence and achieve the state of purity, of cleansing of our actions, thoughts and actions. So this is basically what it is. First is the identification of the poison. When the poison comes out, Kalaguda or Halahala poison, Shiva, self-effort grabs it, the negativities. We have to grab our negativities through self-effort, in the sense that we have to conquer the negativities through self-effort. Only self-effort can help us to conquer our negative thinking. Yes, there are some medicines and other things that have come about to do a little bit of help now in the modern age. But in general, self-effort is what is required for you to fight the evil of Halahala. Shiva is required. Shivam, pure energy. The Shivam, the pure energy, is the self-effort is the pure energy that we all have. It is pure. Self-effort is pure. And that self-effort is the real representation of Shiva within us. And that Shiva takes up the poison, and it has to stay there. It should not go down and contaminate our thought processes. For that, discriminative intelligence is required. Parvati represents the discriminative intelligence. And Parvati gets hold of the neck of Shiva and freezes the poison there, making him a Nilakanta. Pure energy of purification and containment. That is what the Nilakanta Shiva represents. So basically, it is about identifying the poison, making radical changes through self-effort, applying discriminative intelligence such that there is cleansing of thoughts and actions. And for this process, let us utilize our self-energy, self-effort, inner energy, Shiva, through discriminative intelligence. Discriminative intelligence is the throttle for our negativity. And that throttle is Parvati Devi. If we are able to throttle the negativities within us, that means Parvati Devi has taken control of us. Along with self-effort, Shiva, Shakti, has come to our rescue to take us to infinite splendor. Neelakandatvam, infinite splendor. The powers of practice, persistence, and purpose will shine through our as infinite splendor, like a necklace around our neck. So this Nilakanda is a necklace, blue necklace that we wear within our neck, around our neck. What is that? It is the practice, persistence, and purpose that stems from discriminative intelligence, throttling negativities from within us. This is what is the Shiva Shakti Samanvayam within each one of us. And let Shiva Shakti, let the Shiva's self-effort and Parvati's discriminative intelligence, this Shiva Shakti bless us such that we are able to churn our minds and bring out the sustainable success of Amrita, fighting the Asuras and letting the Devas take control. So this is the story of Palazhi Madhanam in detail, in significances. And now what we'll do is we will go over to Anandji for the applied aspects of some of these things that he would also like to speak about before we conclude with discussions. Yeah, over to Anandji.
Namaste to all. I think most of the top things, what I wanted to say, Satishji has already said in detail. But I will say few things, right? Say, for example, a kurma. What does it represent in an organization? See, there was no foundation. Because of that, the mantra starts sinking. Right? So, what is it required for an organization to sustain? A solid foundation. What is that in an organization? They are the requirement for governance, core values, cash reserves, fundamental infrastructure, and something which will hold on without any change. That means the values are very, very important for an organization. So in fact, a foundation in an organization is represented by kurma. What does Shiva represent in an organization? What did he do? He drank the poison. This is one of the greatest quality required for a leader. A resilient leader should absorb all the blames of the organization. It should not be passed on. It is arrested. It has to remain in himself. It should not even come out, whatever is there, so that the organization can prosper on every bit. Otherwise, there is all possibility of collapsing. What does the evolution of poison represent? And then the nectar. Why is it that the nectar did not come first? Why is it that the poison came first? Right? See, always the negativity in a person is strong. Until unless the negativity is removed, the poison cannot come out. And every opportunity has the risk of both poison as well as amrit or reward. Let us take another 3-4 minutes I will take. Let us take the example of artificial intelligence. What is the poison in it? Brings misinformation. It also gives joblessness. But at the same time, it also increases the productivity. and also gives innovation. Every opportunity gives both danger as well as promise. Say, for example, some of you get an excellent job and you are relocated to a foreign country. When you go to a foreign country initially, you will have all the problems. You will not be able to get a good house. You will not have a maid. You don't know where to go and buy things. So, all those things are negativities. But once everything is removed, you get the nectar of happiness. So, what is this? What is the lesson? I will just brief it. In any journey, maybe it a career, a relationship, marriage, often things get messy before they get better. It is very important in a marriage because, you know, we only see the wrong things because that only will come out initially, exactly like the poison. The nectar will come out only later. So it is very important to sustain that negativity which comes out initially. Of course, these are all, my interpretations. So don't quit when the hidden negativity surfaces. It's a sign that churning, refining is happening and Amrit is likely to come. Entice your duality. We have our Asura inside. This cannot be neglected. Harnessing our Asura and developing a Deva to rise, to do selfless work is our goal. Head versus tail. Asura thought that holding the tail was below their dignity. They were exposed to poisonous fumes. The Deva humbly held the tail. So it is very important that humility only will bring you success. Because of their arrogance, they had to suffer. What does Vishnu represent here? This is the requirement of a mentor. Mahavishnu advised them and guided them to be to be not egoistic. Pure ego and vanity will blind you. Humility will only protect you. Lastly, beware of Mohini, premature celebrations. Asura started to celebrate. They were distracted from the appearance of Mohini. A small example in an industry or a new venture can be success of getting an initial seeding fund and you start spending it without even caring and without proper thoughts. Success requires patience. Do not abandon the process because the results are delayed. Strong foundation is sometimes invisible. Say, for example, in any organization, another 2 minutes. In an organization, we always neglect some of the departments, like, HR. It is the most neglected department. Legal, the compliance, right? They they receive rarely any recognition. Could anyone see Kurma? No. Kurma was underneath, under the Palazhi. He was absolutely invisible, but it was a solid foundation for the entire operation. When rewarded, humility should not be forgotten. Prosperity follows discipline. Lakshmi did not come in the first. She came only in the end, before Amrita. Wealth comes only through disciplined execution. Yeah. So I think these are all some of the applications which I could give. One more I would like to add: the importance of enemies. See, it is nothing wrong in collaborating with enemies. The classic example is Apple, Samsung, and Qualcomm. They are competitors. At the same time, they are also collaborators. Samsung gives memory to Apple. They give camera related material to Apple. So there's nothing wrong in taking good from others for creating greater value. I think with this I will stop. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Anandji.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदम् पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।